What's happening, people? Many Face Publishing, man. We in the building. Another episode of, just sitting here, talking about sports. Clarissa Shields, I think she fights today. I think Dillian White fights today as well. I'm not sure. I know I seen something with pay-per-view on the Zone. And I'm like, damn. I didn't know, and this is what I was talking about when I said pay-per-view messes up, the sport of boxing, because ain't nobody paying to see that fight, man. I would love to see the numbers. I don't remember who he's fighting, but fam, that's not a pay-per-view fight. Like, nobody gonna watch that fight and pay for that shit, man. Not in the States. Maybe over in overseas, they, it's probably free over there, and we gotta pay over here. I don't know, but that's not a pay-per-view fight, man. That's not something that people. I didn't even know he was fighting, and then it's pay-per-view. Same thing with Clarissa Shields. I don't know if her fight is pay-per-view, but if it is, it's like, who you fighting that people gonna pay mad bread for? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just can't, I don't know. To me, pay-per-view was made for highly anticipated fights, and with great fighters, with household name fighters like Mike Tyson, De La Hoya, Roy Jones. You had to be an extraordinary draw. Like when you fought, it was an event. That makes you a pay-per-view fighter to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you get a big victory or you beat a couple of dudes, you grab a belt, that don't really make you a pay-per-view star. Don't make you somebody that is must-see. Because pay-per-view was for events. But I you know what I mean? Like, these guys, not knocking people for making no money, but it's like, man, y'all can't make every fighter a pay-per-view fighter, man. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, only pay-per-view fighters, really, like I said, was like Tyson, who else, man? De La Hoya. It wasn't very many, man. You had to have a big fight for it to be pay-per-view, like like Hagler, Sugar Ray, that was a big fight. Spinks, Tyson, that was a big fight. Sweet Pea, Chavez, shit like that, like people that fights that niggas wanted to see, man. You know what I'm saying? Like big name opponents, man. So I'm hoping that they figure something out, man. Like, because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, people can't afford to, pay. First of all, people got bills. Then you got these subscriptions. You might want to enjoy some things on your phone. So you get a few subscriptions on your phone. All that shit add up when you're not rich. And you live in check to check, or you live in, average salary. That stuff adds up, man. It adds up, man. It ain't, people just don't got bread. People be fronting like they got money. Some people have money, some people don't, but you got a lot of people that front like, yo, I'm that dude, or I'm that broad, like I'm getting this and that. And, if you ever was to be up close and personal with them people, they live in check to check, or they ain't got what they showing on social media, or you know what I'm saying, whatever. They ain't got it like that. You start seeing other things, like, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. Like, for the average person, people ain't got, like, say you want to watch, I'm just using names, David Benavidez, then you got a Tank fight, then you got a Ryan Garcia fight or something like that, like, and they all within 2 or 3 months. Because see, now what happens with the pay-per-view thing, you got to spread these fights out, because people may not have the money to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, who these guys fighting, man? you know what I'm saying, for us to say, yo, I want to see David Benavidez. If we got David Benavidez versus a guy that we never really heard of, nobody's gonna want to see that fight, man. But they're trying to sell the name, but the names are not big enough. You know, to me, like I said, I'm not a boxing insider. I don't know none of that shit. But I'm just saying, to me, a lot of these guys' names are not big enough to really carry a pay-per-view event where they're gonna really see some numbers, man. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know, man. And then on top of that, you know, like I said, who wants to pay to see? First of all, you're already paying. Some people pay for cable. Some people are already paying, like I said, paying for cable. You know, these subscriptions, those things add up, man. You've got kids, you got a car, you got a family. You know, that shit adds up, man. You gotta buy food, you gotta electric bill, but clothing. You know, if you got kids, they gotta go to school. You know, you may have to pay a babysitter. Like, it's not easy, man. So, you know, I look at it like, you know, you know, for me to pay for a fight and burn $70, $80, that fight should be worth watching, man. Like the Amanda Serrano joint, that behind Katie Taylor, that was worth watching, man. It's a good card. And it was a highly anticipated fight. You know, they sold the fight good. But it's like, come on, man. Like, but when you start seeing all these guys like fighting and they all pay-per-view, and it's like, damn, but and they like even sometimes when you see your favorite fighters like a Canelo and he's fighting a guy we don't really know who he is, like an Avni Durham or John Ryder. Like Canelo, you know, he has a certain fan base, but it's like you know, that those are not pay-per-view fights. You just they're selling the face of Canelo, and it's, you know, it could work, but it's like, all right, for the amount of money they're gonna go into promotion, things like that, are you really gonna get, you know what I'm saying, get the profits that you're really looking for with him fighting a guy like that? Who's losing money in that situation? You know, so I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I like to see all these people that fight make money, but come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? They boxing got to do better, man. And you know, we got to go on to, you know, talk about basketball. We got to talk about ranking these players, man. Like, for me, I don't really have a top 10, and even my top 5 is tough. You know, it's tough, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, my Mount Rushmore is really what I go by, then it's everybody else. I don't really know how to, you know what I'm saying? But when I see these rankings and then I see certain guys ahead of other guys, and I'm like, well, what are we basing this on, man? If you can't just base it on championships, because championships, you know, is a team effort, and other things can factor in with how you won your championship. So you can't just use championships and say, oh, well, he got 5 rings, so he should be the top 10. Nah. He might not have performed. Like, when you look at Steph Curry, he got 1 finals MVP. And he earned that one. You know, they won their first ring. Andre Iguodala got the finals MVP for pretty much guarding LeBron, and they beat the Cavs in 6. But Steph Curry was struggling in that series. And then you had the second time when they went and it was 73 wins, they didn't get the job done. They blew the 3-1 lead. Steph Curry, and there was another series where he could have taken the torch from LeBron right there. The torch was being handed to him, and he fumbled it. Then you got when he goes and gets Durant. Even though Durant was winning the MVPs, and we all know that was mainly because of the matchup issue, trying to guard Curry. Then you got two the best shooters the game's ever seen on the same team. With the third, the other one is another one of the best shooters we ever seen in the league, Klay Thompson, who could go nuclear. So you got three of the best shooters in the NBA on one team. And so, of course, Kevin Durant, who was the better player, but somehow is not ranked ahead of Curry, was, getting them MVPs. But Steph Curry, he got 4 rings. And the last one, he really worked hard to get that one. They they earned that one. And like anything, I saying they earned the rest of them, but he earned that Finals MVP. He balled out in that series. But the rest of them was more like, he didn't, he didn't perform up to par. Like he didn't outshine the opposition enough where it's like, he deserves to, in those tough moments where he deserved to be ranked in that top 10. I had him, around the top 10. I don't, it's hard for me to rank everybody else, but it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to say, that man's a top 10 player that I've seen. I was definitely having him and LeBron neck and neck as far as who era it is. Even though it was he won back-to-back MVPs, Curry, but LeBron dominated the East, and he had a more dominant run, put it like that. And he's the, like as far as overall, he's the more effective player as far as getting the rebounds, passing. Like Curry can score, and he's the nuclear threat on offense. But what about defense? What about fast breaks, rebounds and stuff like that, block shots? Like these are things LeBron had over him. But it's tough, man, ranking these guys, man, because it's like I said, man, like so much goes into, these dudes' legacies, man. And you don't want to just, like I said, you don't want to just use championships. What about skill set, leadership? What else, man? Level of competition, circumstances, your clutch gene. You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, I like to use plug and play. When I say plug and play, it's like, can I take you and put you in an era when I'm saying you're better than another guy, and you'll dominate his era better than him? That, if I put you in that person's shoes, what would you have done better? You know what I'm saying? For me to say, hey, I'm ranking you ahead of, of this guy. Like, come on. When I look at a guy like Tim Duncan, right? If I swapped him out with David Robinson, how many championships does he win in the 90s? How many times he gets to the finals? Because you got to remember, in the 90s, that's when the West got tough, man. The West wasn't, Magic and them was running through the West. It wasn't even fair, man. They were just running through. It was just like automatically sign them to the finals, except for them 2 hiccups against Houston. Side that, send them to the finals ASAP, man. So when I look at the West, how it was constructed, you had the Utah Jazz, Karl Malone emerge. For a long time, Karl Malone was considered the best power forward. But because when Tim Duncan came along, what he was doing, he was allowed to play power forward. Tim Duncan could have been a center. He was a center / power forward, really. but he mainly played power forward because they had David Robinson. You know, people forget that the only reason they got Tim Duncan was because Robinson got hurt and they were able to draft him. But that shows you the impact that David Robinson had on that team. David Robinson, right? Think about it. Carried San Antonio the entire, for a good 6 or 7 years in the 90s till they got Duncan. He's coming back off a catastrophic injury and he's an aging player. So, of course, he was still giving you 20. But, of course, you can say, yeah, that's Duncan's team. Duncan, you know, he had to get busy out there. He took the reins, as he should, because this man is aging. He's coming off a catastrophic injury, but he's still effective. But now we got this young boy. He can fall back now and just support him and let the young boy, you know, be the workhorse. He doesn't have to be the same workhorse that he was when he dropped 71 or he was giving dudes business, getting, you know what I'm saying, like getting his team to the playoffs, winning 50-some games, you know, in the West, you know, and the West was tough, man. Because not only you had the Rockets, the Suns, the Supersonics, you had, who else you had? The Trailblazers. Like, you had some teams out there, man, like, Utah Jazz. Like, it wasn't easy, man. You know, Golden State Warriors was with Chris Mullin, they were all right, but they weren't really a threat. They wasn't a threat. The threats was like the Utah, the Trailblazers, you know, like the Suns, the Rockets, you know, the Jazz, the Supersonics. Like, those were your threats. It's a lot of threats, man. Any one of those teams can get to the finals and potentially win it all, depending on if you're playing against Mike or not. But how many rings did Duncan get in the 90s? Does he get to the final? Can he get? And I'm talking about putting him with the same team that David Robinson had. So we're just swapping David Robinson and saying, hey, we're going to put Duncan in your era and put him by himself and let's see him cook. Because we never saw Tim Duncan have to cook by himself like that, where he didn't really have a supporting cast around him. Like, he always had everybody think of supporting cast as having these superstar players. Supporting cast is having competent players around you, man. When you have players that know how to play together and are competent, and you have a balanced attack, that's a good team, a great team, man. You know what I'm saying? So he always had a good amount of balance on his teams. Even when Robinson and them left, you had Bruce Bowen, Ginobili off the bench, that Tony Parker immersion. Remember, before that, you had Steven Jackson out there. You always had, yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always had some type of, you know, help. You know, at one point they had the young kid, Derek Anderson, who was balling before he got hurt. Excuse me. So, when I look at, you know, Duncan's career, he even later on, he had Kawhi Leonard, not Dwight. Kawhi Leonard, right? He had Kawhi. And at one point, Kawhi was already older, Tim Duncan, but, you know, when they won their championship, he got the MVP. Not saying he was better than Duncan, but we know that Tim Duncan always had a great supporting cast, great coaching, Greg Popovich. So we never seen him have to do things like Kobe did or like Mike did. Even Isaiah Thomas in the beginning of his career where they didn't really have much and they had to really go off out there, in order to get the franchise to build a team around them. Like once they traded Shaq and they brought in Oldham and Kobe had to go off. Damn near left the team. And how he dragged some of them same players to the finals, got them to play championship level, but it took him a piece or two to do it. But he had to go through his growing pains. So we never saw Tim Duncan really after, we seen him get busy with some monster games, 30 something, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 or 5 blocks. Like we seen him have some monster games, right? Don't get me wrong, he was a monster, for about a good 6 or 7 years. But then it's like, all right, you started fading, and then now that became more of a team effort. He was the workhorse in the beginning, but then it became, I say around 2004, 2005, and 2005, 2006, it became more of a team effort after that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went from playing at a superstar level to now, just maybe an all-star level. But you still was a great player. You still can, run the offense through you. But remember, Tony Parker was there. Tony Parker started cooking. Tim Duncan wasn't a guy that looked for accolades and looked to, he was a, great team player, and he played defense. That's one of the edges I give him over David Robinson, the defense. You know what I mean? So, but if we was to plug and play those two guys, who, has more success? If you was to put David Robinson with Tim Duncan, or you swap out Tim Duncan in Robinson's role in the 90s. It's with that same team, not the, we need to see Duncan with that same team. Can you lead them to the Western Conference Finals? Things like that. Get them 50-something wins every year. When I look at some of these players, I need to look at, when I say that plug and play, and I look at a guy like LeBron, can I play you in the 90s and see if you can win a championship in the 90s or the 80s? What teams are you going to beat? You're not beating the Bulls. You're not going to beat that Rockets team. You're not going to beat that San Antonio team. I doubt it. Because they already done swept you. What team do you beat? Not beating that Laker team, that 99, 2000 Laker team. You're bugging, man. Even if we had that Dwayne Wade shit, I don't see you beating. I don't see that team. Because they would have gotten physical out there, and I don't see that team being able to deal with that. So I don't know, man. Like I said, man, can I plug and play you in any era? Also, I'm gonna give you another example. If you take Larry Bird and put him in any of these eras, what do you think he gonna do, man? The man didn't even practice shooting threes, and he won 3 3-point contests in a row. Won it with his warm-up jersey on, and was one of the greatest shooters we ever seen. And he said, we didn't even practice threes. So imagine if we put him in this era where they're practicing threes. You talking about greatest shooter ever. He would have took it to different heights. And the way he played the game. Imagine if you took that Celtics team with a young Larry Bird and put them in this era. That's not fair. They'll cry at this super team. They'll cry, man. I'm telling you, they'll destroy this league, man. Imagine if you took the Showtime Lakers and put them, or you put Magic Johnson in this era with all these athletic kids and 3-point shooting. He fuck around the average 20 assists. But if you gave him the Showtime Lakers with that, ooh, forget about it, man. This is about me with plug and play. If you took Steph Curry and put that team in the 80s and 90s, who were they going? They were not beating the Lakers, man. I'm sorry. I don't believe they can beat the Showtime Lakers. Now you throw Michael Cooper and Byron Scott on Durant. I mean not Durant, on Curry and Clay. Then you might throw James Worthy or somebody on or Ace, AC Green be able to keep up with Durant, but you may throw James Worthy on Durant. Or, they have guys, Michael Thompson, they had guys able to do on Durant. Then you got to guard Magic. Who's going to stop Magic? Then you got to guard James Worthy. The quick first step. Slash into the rim. Who's going to stop that on that team? Draymond Green? Stop it. They wouldn't stood a chance against them Lakers. To me, I'm just a guy that live in my basement, so, we just giving our opinion, sports. I'm not trying to disrespect those guys, but y'all can't. They wouldn't have beat no damn Showtime Lakers, man. They just shut that Curry shit down, man. Because then now who Curry gonna guard? You gotta play defense too. Who had an answer for Kareem? Come on. That 96 Bulls team, you put Jordan in any one of these eras, he's going to dominate, only except for the 80s. And the reason I say because of the 80s was because those were superior teams, man. Superior type of players, which is why Larry Bird and Magic will never leave my Mount Rushmore. Ever, man. Unless I see you do something extraordinary, they not leaving my Mount Rushmore, man. I'm saying, like Kobe, I don't know. I be wanting to put him on that Mount Rushmore. Some people have him too, and I don't argue that because you say he's the next best thing to Mike. How is he not in the top 5 or the top 2 or whatever? You know what I'm saying? But what I seen with Magic and Bird, how they dominated the league throughout the 80s, I've never seen nothing like that. The way they dominated the league. And then when I see, you know what I'm saying? But when I look at what they did, what Bird and them did to Jordan, they smacked him around, man. They swept them twice. Pistons beat them 3 more years in a row. They smacked him around, man. So we already saw what happened when he played against those guys when they were at their best. And then he got Magic in them. Magic was they were all Lakers were going through something, but ain't no excuse they lost. So like you tell me that you put that Bulls team now in the 2000s, they gonna get a ring or two, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put them in this era, shit. These kids might not even play, man. And then we talking about skill set. Skill set is like, I gotta go through something, so I'm gonna cut this live short, but just to talk about skill set is like how your game evolves, like what you're capable of doing, what you do on the court, like how your game look, like, you know what I'm saying? What arsenal you have in your game? Do you have a post game? Can you shoot? Let's say your post game, your mid range game, your dribbling skills. Like just things like that. Like you talk about skill, footwork. You know what I'm saying? Like even defensively, like you know what I'm saying? Like when you talk about skill set is everything, man, because it makes the game fluid for you. You know, so if you don't have the skill set, like the shooting ability, be able to hit open jumpers, pull up shots, fadeaways, post moves, dribbling, pulling up to get a shot off on your own. No, those are skills, man. Defense, positioning your feet, drawing charges, getting steals, like, you know what I'm saying, getting blocks, one-on-one coverage, like, those are skills, man. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at overall skill, Kobe's probably definitely top 2 or 3 skilled players ever. Probably the most skilled player ever. But skill matters. But anyway, I gotta cut this joint short so I could get back to doing what I was doing. But I already did another video talking about some of this stuff, man. I ain't mean to put people to sleep. I'm a little tired myself. I'm fighting sleep. I'm gonna probably do another video because we need to talk about the mentality of people out here, man. Because it's really disgusting. Like just miserable people and shit like that. I think I did a little video. I'm gonna do another one about it. Anyway, man, Manyface Publishing. Sorry to bore you guys, man. I'm half asleep myself, but I gotta get back doing what I was doing. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace.